Okay, so the stimulus for a muscle contraction starts from the brain and it sends the action potential down to the motor neuron, which then causes the calcium channels to open up and allows the calcium to come in, and then this will cause the vesicles to migrate. Okay, and since the calcium causes the ACH vesicles to migrate, it fuses with the synaptic bulb, and then the ACH gets dumped into the synaptic cleft, and then the ACH will then bind with the sodium channels and cause them to open, and then allows for the sodium that's sitting in the synaptic cleft to come through and go into the muscle fiber. And then once that happens, the action potential radiates and then goes towards the transverse tubule and then goes to the sarcoplasmic reticulum. Okay, and since the action potential gets into the transverse tubule, it goes towards the sarcoplasmic reticulum, which then opens the calcium channels on the sarcoplasmic reticulum and allows the calcium to flood into the muscle cell. And then once the calcium floods into the muscle cell, it goes towards the myofibrils, and then it connects to the troponin, which the troponin then connects to the tropomyosin that's connected to the actin, which then, once the tropomyosin connects with this tropomyosin, then it causes the tropomyosin to detach from the actin, which then exposes the actin-myosin binding sites. Okay, so I left off with saying that the actin-myosin binding site was exposed in the sarcomere, and now that they're exposed, the myosin heads are going to reach up and attach to the actin. And they're going to bend and pull, which is going to cause this to move this way. And then that's called the power stroke, and that's how a muscle basically contracts. And then ATP will come in, and that's the cell energy, and it'll attach to the myosin. And then this will cause them to detach and then reattach again over here. So during relaxation period, the calcium channels will be shut off, and I'm going to start down by the sarcoplasmic reticulum first to show that the relaxation in the myofibrils. So the calcium will go back into the sarcoplasmic reticulum in relaxation, and the calcium channels will be cut back off, so the calcium will stop flooding into the muscle cell. And this causes the tropomyosin to go back to the actin head and close off the binding site once again. And the tropomyosin will then the troponin will be by itself, and the calcium will detach itself. And then, in the sarcomere, the myofibrils will relax, and once again the binding sites will be closed off, so the myosin heads will detach and relax, and this is when the muscle contraction relaxes. Since the action potential then went back to the brain, the calcium in the synaptic bulb retreat, and then the sodium channels then get cut back off. And then the ACH comes in and detaches the ACH on the sodium channels, which then closes these off too, so then the sodium is not rushing back into the muscle cell. And then the ACH then goes back to the vesicle, and then the vesicle will then close off, and then everything will go back to normal again. With all the channels closed off, the vesicle is back where they started, and the sodium channel is being cut off.